Base Coaches podcast. I'm Rich. I'm here with my friends, Dr. Suzanne Fox and
Hey
Rob Lee.
guys.
Hello.
We're honored to have Dr. Joel Fuhrman as our guest. I first started following Dr. Fuhrman in 2012. He's the author of Eat to Live. I think that was the book that came out a few years before I found out who he was. He was on Dr. Oz, and it changed my life because I learned about the G-bombs. And the G-bombs are greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. And they became the foundation of my diet ever since. I lost over 150 pounds, and I credit Dr. Fuhrman for that. And Rob and Suzanne, if you could share a little bit about Dr. Fuhrman before we bring him on.
Well, I seen him, Dr. Fuhrman, also on PBS on his special years ago, probably about 13 years ago, and it was the 3 steps to incredible health. And, it made sense. It's really getting back to how we should have been eating all along. Mm-hmm. And, he's wonderful. He's like an encyclopedia, too.
He is.
Oh, he is.
And Suzanne, how did you first learn of him?
I was just searching through the internet trying to find weight loss tips and things like that, and I stumbled upon his book, Eat to Live. So I went ahead and just, I said, well, this looks interesting, and I just picked it up and started reading it, and it was just slapping me in the face with every single sentence. I was like, what in the world? This guy is like speaking the actual truth about what's going on out here. This is what's actually happening. And I was like, and it's just, he doesn't pull any punches. He's like, this is
what I love about it.
This is what I am seeing with my eyes. This is what's happening. And I mean, after that, I was just, wow. It was like a month or two later, you have to kind of process that stuff. And that was it. He changed my life. He really did with that book, Eat to Live, between him and Dr. T. Colin Campbell with the China study. I mean, I literally, that was it. I threw all the dairy out of my house, tossed out the eggs, and I was already a vegetarian. So there you go.
Yeah, I went, I think it was the following day, and bought Eat to Live, I think I read the whole thing that
several
day.
Times, over and over. It's like a Bible or something. Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Life
So
changing.
Dr. Fuhrman, you have a lot of fans. Dr. Fuhrman, I have a question about AI. This show is about AI, and the first question I'm just going to give to you. The others will be fed through ChatGPT. First question is, how do you think AI is going to change medicine in a couple of years?
The new AI, which I'm involved with, can be emotionally intelligent and be able to relate to people and give them counseling and lifestyle and support, and feel like they're having almost a human interaction with their AI. So AI has a huge capacity to do good.
Absolutely.
A huge capacity. I'm on an AI project right now. We're developing like a home doctor coach that goes home with you and as your buddy, your emotional support, helps you with your diet change and keeps you on track. I mean, we're working on this for lifestyle medicine. AI was going to be phenomenal.
That's awesome.
There's other problems with the AI, of course, which is the problems of the data that the AI is reviewing, because obviously, as you know, I'm a strong opponent against conventional medical care. And the AI is going to will strengthen use the data that's out there and the opinions that are now overwhelmingly, that are most popular and most accepted. It'll utilize those opinions and viewpoints to target them to make sure they're correct, that they fit the conventional standards. And since in most cases, in most diseases, I oppose conventional standards, the AI in those cases would not be an assistant to the treatment method. For example, instead of giving an asthma patient a steroid inhaler and a long-acting beta agonist, I might wean them off the beta agonist, increase their steroids, put them on a diet, do some episodic fasting, change what they're doing, and wean them off their steroids slowly over a 6-month period. And then if, at the end of their tail of weaning off the steroids, if they start to feel a little bit uncomfortable, then I might put them on a fast to get rid of the asthma so I can cure their asthma and not treat it. And then if they feel weak from the chronic years of steroid use, I might have to give them some DHEAs temporarily to wean that off, grow more gradually, because they have immunosuppression. So I have a completely different methodology of the way I treat disease to reverse it compared to conventional. The conventional approach. You're not going to get that approach because the AI can't take these things out of my mind. And I haven't really trained hundreds of doctors across the country. Have not people aren't interested in what I've developed over the last 50 years, 40 years, or 50 years. So I don't, there's still going to be innovation and outlying methodologies that are important that the AI is not going to pick up until years to come.
Sure. And my first question that is going to, if the viewers are wondering, we plan to ask ChatGPT. Now, it's not that the answers are wrong, but I know Dr. Fuhrman, he's not the conventional doctor, so he's probably going to have a different approach for a lot of these answers. But
I'm a doctor specializing in the nutritional reversal of disease, and I usually disagree with most treatments and even most diagnoses proposed by most conventional doctors. So in many cases, I'll disagree with the AI too, because obviously people like diagnoses. Like they have indigestion, they're feeling rotten, they can't sleep at night, they have chronic headaches. They go to a doctor and they'll give them a diagnosis and say, "Oh, I've been going to doctor, and the doctor finally diagnosed with fibromyalgia. At least I know what's wrong with me now." But that doesn't mean the doctor knows what's wrong with them. That's just a catchphrase. It means, you have pain and you're not feeling well. So they give you a fancy name that means you're in pain and not feeling well. And the patient thinks that, oh, well, now I have a diagnosis. Doctors think the diagnosis is the cause. The diagnosis is the name. It means nothing. Oh, you've got chronic fatigue syndrome. That has no meaning to chronic fatigue syndrome. The person's not feeling well. They didn't get to the cause of why the person's not feeling well. There could be a million different causes of fatigue that they're labeling chronic fatigue syndrome. So the point I'm making is, in many cases, the doctors are looking for a drug to mitigate symptoms, and that's not getting to the cause of the problem, and it just leads to more chronic illness, and the disease allows the disease to advance, or they're mitigating symptoms, not getting rid of the cause, and they change one disease to another disease because now they have drugs on top of the underlying pathology that's going to pop up in some other problem down the road. So it's very, the whole core methodology and philosophy of medical care is off-center, is not correct. So then the AI can't be correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably can't be correct either. The foundation of medical care is incorrect.
Yeah, I agree.
When you ask a doctor, like, how did I get this symptom or problem? Usually they'll just blame it on age or genetics. Those are the two things that I always get.
Or you tell you it's in your head, or you're just stressed out. They don't know what they're talking about. Everybody's stressed out, but they do a lot of tests. The tests show nothing, and then they come up with it. Then they'll give it a name, and then they'll tell you it's in your head, and they'll put you on medications for your head.
Yep.
But anyway, let's go on with the show.
Okay. So my first question is about omega-3. Just to review, Dr. Fuhrman, a few years ago, I reached out to you because my omega-3 levels were 3.9. And I just, the last time I had a check was 5.1. And I waited for like 8 months now. I just had a check the other day, so I knew I'd be talking with you. And it's 6.43 now. So I'm finally 5.5, and I'm thrilled with that.
That's great.
I took Dr. Fuhrman's advice, and I love that DHA supplement that you take, the vegan DHA. I think it's the cleanest version, especially since it's not been sitting on the shelf long. But
right, my DHA purity, as far as I know, is the only one that we keep in dark glass, and we keep it refrigerated. So it's a refrigerated product compared to a room temperature product, and it could be out of the refrigerator. Room temperature products could be like fish oil, could be out of the refrigerator a year and a half outside of the refrigerator. So there's rancidity in these. There's rancidity in these products, so they don't refrigerate them is the problem.
Yeah. So my question for ChatGPT was, what is the best way to increase your omega-3? And it does give some good advice, obviously, with the algae-based DHA supplements. Best choice for vegans or plant-based. But look for fresh, reliable sources. So, and it even mentions you, Dr. Fuhrman.
That's cool. At least it uses the word fresh, because that's important, because oils go bad over time.
Yeah, I'm actually impressed with this answer.
It's
And
then,
mentioning Dr. Furman. It's actually mentioning Dr.
It does.
Furman.
Yeah, it says it.
Oh, that's so
For example,
awesome.
Dr. Fuhrman or Nordic Naturals.
Okay, nice.
Fish oil supplements effective, can be contaminated though with heavy metals and PCBs. And dosage 250 to 500 milligrams. So, I mean,
That's
that's
pretty
probably a
good
good
answer.
dose. What's that?
I mean, that was a pretty good answer, and
Yeah, I can't argue with it either.
pretty good answer.
That's pretty impressive.
What's interesting is that we know so much more in the last few years about omega-3, because remember, I'm saying that your health is a product of the cellular concentration of nutrients, which helps reducing toxicity in the cells. So that it's helps. So the toxicity of your cell you want to be low, or so the high nutrient levels and the diversity of nutrients helps the toxicity be low, because the toxicity has to do with toxic exposure in the environment that can create disease too. And then you have the omega-3 index in the cell membrane. And here's what we're finding. We're finding that people with a low omega-3 index, their body can't remove and protect themselves against the toxicity in the environment from chemicals and plastics.
Oh, wow.
So that if your omega-3 index are low, you're more likely to be damaged by pesticides or other chemicals in the environment. If your omega-3 index is adequate, you have more resistance to damage. So that's why there's a link between low omega-3 and Parkinson's disease.
Oh.
And the Seventh-day Adventist Health Study 2 came out with the data that showed that vegans had 37% more Parkinson's than non-vegans did in that study. 37% more. Most likely, and we know Parkinson's are linked to now, living near a golf course, 1 mile of a golf course increases risk of Parkinson's for pesticides sprayed on the golf course. Living near farms but we know that working in a dry cleaner or getting your clothing dry clean increase risk of Parkinson's. We know that even the chemicals that can cause Parkinson's, but we're saying here that on a vegan diet, if your omega-3 index is not good, and a person who's not on a vegan diet probably could be eating fish or something that has more omega-3. So when you go to a complete vegan diet, the chance of your omega-3 being low could be increasing your risk to environmental toxins that could be causing Parkinson's. That's the findings that we're presenting today, and we're having more and more evidence. That's why you and I, Richard, are so important in keeping our omega-3 index above 6 if we can, because that's when the studies show that we're protecting for later life brain benefits to the brain, both in preventing dementia and preventing Parkinson's. And the other issue, of course, is that it takes decades of maintaining the omega-3 index in the favorable range for the brain to get the protection against brain shrinkage and dementia. You can't just take it when people say, oh yeah, but I'm doing great, I'm feeling fine, I'll worry about that later if I get older or something like that. Or they'll say, I don't need omega-3, there's nothing, I've been not taking it my whole life, I'm feeling great. If you can live to be 80 years old, that's probably okay. But if you can live to be 90 or 100, you can develop these problems in later life. And what I'm saying right now is that the favorable level in middle ages through later life is what gives you the protection. You can't wait till you get older and start fixing the number. You should fix it now, because the studies show us your overall level for decades that gives you the protection at the end of your life.
That's amazing. I bought the test, but I never actually used it, so I need to actually go and use it.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I should, definitely. You said above 6, right? Levels above 6?
Correct. So about 10 years ago, I used to tell people to get their levels above 4. And then about 5 years ago, I told them to keep the levels above 5. And now I tell them above 6, because more and more studies show the most lifespan enhancing protection against cancer, protection against Parkinson's, protection against strokes was levels above 6 on the omega-3 index test.
I'll definitely take the test when I get home, and then we'll find out what it is.
What was also interesting in the Seventh-day Adventist Health Study 2, it's such an important study because they're studying a population of relatively healthy people compared to the average American. So there are people who are not smoking cigarettes and not a lot of coffee, they're not drinking alcohol, they generally exercise, and if they're eating meat, they're not eating junk food as much, and they're eating less animal products. So we compare that, and comparing the healthy Seventh-day Adventists who were eating some animal products like chicken or fish or meat compared to the complete vegans. The complete vegans had lower rates of heart attacks and most cancers, but the vegans had higher rates of stroke, higher rates of dementia, and higher rates of Parkinson's.
Wow.
So
particularly.
What's that?
What was the strokes caused by? Why would you have a higher level of strokes in the vegans?
Because as you develop more atherosclerotic plaque, it thickens the blood vessels. And when you have salt in your diet, when you're on a plant-based diet, your vessels are more clean and elastic and young. And as they age, they may get more friable, and they could break. Because salt, over the decades of use, gradually weakens the endothelial lining. They call it microvascular hemorrhaging, and gradually destroys the endothelial matrix of the blood vessels from being on salt your whole life. So a vegan can be at higher risk of a hemorrhagic stroke, not of an embolic stroke, because the hemorrhagic stroke is a breaking of the blood vessel in the brain that leads to. That's why in Asian countries they eat so much salt, they have 10 times the risk of hemorrhagic stroke. So vegans have a higher, or like being in vegans who are still salting their food, actually would be increased risk of hemorrhage because they don't have the atherosclerosis that protects the vessel from breaking open, because the fat on the inside and outside of the vessel thickens the vessel wall and prevents it from hemorrhaging, even though it increases the risk of having a ischemic or embolic stroke.
Yeah, you're gonna have
That's why vegans are not. That's why it's so important for us not to salt or not to use salt. And there are some vegans who die young because of strokes, because they still think salt is good for them or something. I don't know.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really good to know. It's good information.
I have just one quick follow-up about omega-3. It's recommending dosages of 250 to 500. Now, since I finally achieved over 6, do I stay on the same dosage?
Yes.
Is that a good level?
Whatever dose you were taking to get the 6, stay with that. If you go back down to it'll put you'll level. That's what I had the same experience as you. Same as what you. I first tested. I was 4.2. I tested it again. I was about 4.8 or 4.9. Then I increased the dose. So now I'm taking double the dose, and now I'm getting above 6. Same thing.
How long did it take you? A couple of years yourself?
A couple of years for me to figure it out, because you need a couple of years to get up there, and you got to keep it up there for the rest of my life. I want to keep it up there.
Yeah, makes sense.
So the next question is, what kind of deficiencies are most likely with following a strictly vegan diet? And ChatGPT says, obviously B12. That's the most obvious. Vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, iron, because of the risk is moderate, especially for menstruating women. Zinc, risk is moderate. And calcium risk low if plant-based calcium sources are included. Iodine risk is moderate. Symptoms for the thyroid problems.
Those are great answers.
Yeah.
That's a really
protein, you want quality, not quantity.
Let me comment on that stuff, okay? Because it's pretty good. That's exactly what we see. So I don't know why the AI is so accurate. Okay, so let's go over that. It's true that iron, we get plenty of iron, but some women don't absorb iron well, especially menstruating women. But some women, as they get older, don't absorb iron that well. And we can't guarantee the diet's going to give them enough. If they're not eating red meat or animal products that have more heme iron, there is a percentage of people on vegan diets that become low in iron. And I have to put them on iron supplements. We don't just give all people iron supplements. We measure their ferritin, Ferritin. It's the blood test that gives you the most accuracy to test your iron stores. You don't test serum iron, you test ferritin. If your ferritin is below 50, you're low in iron. So it's smart to check your iron, particularly if you're a female on a vegan diet, because it's very individual that some women don't absorb as well, and also they lose more with bleeding if they're. So that was a very good answer to check that on a vegan diet. The other thing, B12 and DHA are obviously we spoke about that. Vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. It's not particularly higher risk for vegans. It's for everybody who's not getting enough sunshine. But of course, I think they fortify milk and things with vitamin D, so we're not having the fortified milk. But something people should at least check. But it's not the vegan diet per se that has anything to do with it. It's whether they're not getting sun. Okay, zinc you get more zinc from animal products, which is true because you don't absorb it as well from plants due to the phytic acid. And they found that in later life, Zinc supplement reduces risk of pneumonia, and immunosenescence, in other words, protect the brain against aging. So there's some benefit to making sure you get enough zinc on a vegan diet. So the moderate risk so the AI was correct. There's a moderate risk. You're still getting some zinc, but not the ideal amount for most best effect as you age. Calcium, the EPIC Oxford study just did a study on a UK study. Did a study comparing to vegans to meat eaters on bone density and with calcium and protein intake. And it found, I think it said that vegans had, what percent increased risk of fracture? Anyway, vegans had a significant increased risk of osteoporosis-related hip fractures compared to non-vegans. And they thought it was that the non-vegan meat eaters were bigger and had more muscle. They were larger people, and maybe that's why, but it really wasn't. When you analyze the diet that the vegans were eating, it was like a starch-based, like a potato-based or bread-based vegan diet, and their protein content of their diet was 43 grams a day. And in this study, the average calcium intake was 596 milligrams of calcium. And the diet was like whole grains and fruit and bean burgers and baked potato and salad with brown rice and dairy-free ice cream and peas and carrots. That was their diet. When I compared that to a nutritarian diet, obviously, where we have superseed oatmeal, salad, soup, vegetable stir fry, beans and ice cream with nuts in it. We just a little bit more, same amount of calories. We're talking here about 1,600 calories compared to 1,600 calories, same amount of calories. The nutritarian diet had double the protein, almost double, 84 grams of protein, which is about 19% protein, whereas the vegan diet of people eating the typical vegan diet of the people analyzed in this UK Oxford study, EPIC Oxford study, right, published in November 2020. They were eating 43 grams of protein. The nutritarian diet gave 84 grams of protein. The calcium was about 600 on the starch-based diet. And the nutritarian diet was 1,291, almost 1,300 milligrams of calcium, more than double the amount of calcium, almost double the amount of protein. So we're saying here, a vegan diet not properly designed can be marginally low in calcium and protein. But you properly design it by using beans and nuts and seeds and green vegetables, and you pump it up to be even better. By the way, the animal product diet, the meat eaters only had 16.5 to 17% protein, whereas the nutritarian diet had average 19% protein. It had more protein grams for 1,600 calories than the meat eating diet, because the meat diet probably still eating bread and salad oils, and they weren't, and sugar. They probably not eating as carefully. So
Wow.
So again, them saying calcium, the probability of is depending on how carefully you plan the diet. You have beans and seeds and nuts and greens, you're not going to be low. But if you just eat mostly bread and pasta and bagels and potatoes and rice, you're going to be low. You know what I mean? And fruit, you're going to be low. It all depends on how you make up the diet. So again, ChatGPT or whatever AI engine you're using was on the money. Was right.
Yep.
That's good to know.
And Robbie, you had the next question about the thyroid. If you want to go next.
So many people have thyroid medications they have to take. What is the cause of hypothyroidism, for instance, Dr. Joel Fuhrman? And what foods can they eat in order to supplement the medication, like levothyroxine?
Are you asking ChatGPT that or me?
Well, yeah, I already have the answer up for ChatGPT first.
Okay,
so
let's see what ChatGPT says.
Okay. Yeah, what causes hypothyroidism? Autoimmune disease. That's the most common in developed countries.
But that's not a cause, because autoimmune disease has its own causes. You follow me?
True. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
I do.
naming another disease that causes this disease, but it didn't tell you the cause of the problem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And, the next one is iodine deficiency, post-thyroid surgery or radiation, certain medications, and dietary factors such as goitrogens. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Goitrogens, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Can you get rid of thyroid medications? It depends on the underlying cause. If it's been permanently damaged or removed, obviously you need medication for life. If it's early stage, this could be reversible. Some people can reduce or even eliminate medication. It's due to especially if it's due to nutritional deficiencies.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Again, it's an excellent answer. Really, the AI is doing really good. I'm very impressed.
Three in a row.
Actually,
I wasn't expecting AI to do this good at the answers. Okay, so let's go over what it said, which everything they said was correct. Now, they're saying autoimmune. Yeah, it's Hashimoto's thyroiditis is the major cause of an autoimmune attack on the thyroid gland. But what causes the autoimmune attack on the thyroid gland? It didn't really get into that, but it did say medications can cause it, which we know that medications are a form of toxins or poisons. And we know that there are certain exposure to nanoplastic or endocrine disruptors and other environmental toxins that increase that particularly women are very sensitive to. The thyroid gland seems to be a radar, I should say, a Geiger counter. Your thyroid is your Geiger counter for any toxins, because you expose the toxins, the thyroid develop autoimmune disease of the thyroid. So you don't have a systemic autoimmune disease that much, because the rest of your body isn't attacked. It's mostly the thyroid gland that gets attacked. So we're saying that toxic exposure from the environment is a major cause of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. That's not caused by iodine deficiency, but the AI was correct. It mentioned both as a cause. It said autoimmune, which is its body's immune system attacking the thyroid gland, which I'm saying that's the type that's caused by toxins in the environment. And then iodine deficiency, that can cause a goiter and cause hypothyroidism. And that can be fixed nutritionally, which the AI was correct on that as well. And it considered medications as a potential cause, which is a potential source of toxicity that could negatively affect the thyroid, and radiation. So the AI was correct. We're just adding to what the AI said, and said that toxins in the environment, drinking, water in plastic bottles, going to Starbucks, pouring hot coffee into a cardboard cup lined with plastic, and you drink plastic down your throat. It's exposure to even the toxins in the nanoplastic particles in seafood. It's a lot of unknown causes, but we know it's toxic induced. We don't know every toxin that causes it, but we know that Parkinson's disease is toxin induced too, for that matter. Yeah.
I've been getting more and more afraid of these plastics. I avoid water bottles now when I can, and do everything.
Yeah, we're all going to like glass water bottles and metal water bottles. We're not carrying plastic. We're not cooking, putting anything in the microwave. Any hot liquids, you don't put things in plastic containers. We're trying to buy, do everything you can, to keep. But of course, when you eat healthfully and your nutrient levels are high, your body can better deal with environmental toxins. And when your omega-3 index is favorable, you can better deal with environmental toxins. That's what, as nutritarians, we're trying to do. We can't avoid totally environmental toxins, but we want our body in the best shape possible to be able to reduce the possibility of damage from those toxins.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, if somebody wants to try to go off thyroid medications, what foods, are there certain foods that would increase the thyroid hormone, or how would you do that?
That's incorrect. In other words, there's no science to document that that's true, that there's any foods you can take to make your thyroid function better. And the AI was also correct in that when you first have when young people, when you catch them early, when they start to develop problems with your thyroid, then nutritional excellence, I've seen it able to reverse it. But once you wait till the person's had it for years, it becomes irreversible, because too much of the thyroid loses its ability to produce thyroid hormone, can be, in most cases, permanent. The only cases I've seen that have reversed themselves were the people I've caught right at the start of the problem, or when they were much younger, when they were starting to get it. So most cases, it's not reversible. And even though people say goitrogens, like cruciferous vegetables, can suppress the thyroid, that's really not even relevant in humans unless you were eating them, unless you were drinking the juices all day long. You couldn't even get enough into you in other words, you can't eat enough goitrogens to have a significant effect on lowering the thyroid, unless your diet, doing something crazy like juicing bok choy and cabbage, and you drinking a huge amount of green cruciferous juice all day. Just the normal amount you eat, even if you had the normal amount, you couldn't eat enough to suppress the thyroid. There's no, especially if your diet has variety to it and has some, not even just one food the whole day. If you ate nothing but goitrogens like green cruciferous vegetables all day long, it's all you ate. Yeah, maybe, but even that would be hard for a human to consume enough to suppress the thyroid. Whereas in a rat or a
I get
mice, you
that
can.
question. Yeah, I get that question a lot on my TikTok
Yeah,
channel. Get a lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, you
I have
can't eat all
too.
that stuff. Don't eat all that stuff. Don't do the cabbage. Don't do the greens." That's a good to know that pretty much impossible.
It's almost impossible to get it. There's only been a few cases in the history of medical history where a person had hypothyroidism due to suppression of too much cruciferous. There was one case with an Asian woman who was like eating nothing but bok choy, and that's all she ate was all day long was eating. So it's very, very rare that something like that could happen.
Wow, it's good to
Yeah,
know.
that's good to know. That's definitely.
Good to know.
The next one, I actually love the way ChatGPT answered this. What is the best way to reverse type 2 diabetes? It actually says a whole food, plant-based, low-fat diet. Why it works?
That's awesome.
Reduces insulin resistance, improves insulin sensitivity, supports weight loss, can produce or eliminate the need for medication. Can reduce or eliminate the need for medication. There's clinical support. Dr. Neil Barnard's research, studies from Dr. Fuhrman, Dr. Caldwell, Esselstyn, and others show long-term diabetes reversal.
So, well, ChatGPT is really that's fantastic. I'm so impressed that I wasn't expecting you were asking me to be on this podcast that we'd see ChatGPT doing such a great job.
Well, it's going to take your job over, Dr. Joel Fuhrman.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I think of it as enhancing the job because I use it in my line of work because I do websites and instead of hand coding things, you could just call up ChatGPT and type in the code for you. So I think it's more of a enhancing what the doctor already does.
Sure. What's good for too is if somebody in your family is having a birthday or something, or you give them, tell them about the person, the good qualities, and then it says make a nice poem, rhyming poem for their birthday, and the ChatGPT will spit out a whole poem, beautiful poem about what that person. And it's so cool. And then instead of buying a card in a store where the card just says something, now you've personalized it and made it so it's really fun.
Wow, that's a good thing to do. I would never even have thought of that.
And the next question is on the screen is a vegan diet safe for children, pregnant women, or the elderly? And the answer from ChatGPT is yes, a well-planned vegan diet is safe and healthy for both children and the elderly, and it can offer important health benefits at every age. But it must be, in bold, nutritionally complete and appropriately followed.
And appropriately supplemented.
That's hard to argue, right?
It was a good answer, but did it say and appropriately supplemented? In other words, B12, omega-3, maybe some zinc and iodine, and you're okay,
And that's for every age level, right?
And pregnancy too. I mean, we know that having a woman who has low iron could not have a baby could interfere with the intelligence of their baby. So low iron so it's very important to follow that and make sure that you supplement appropriately if your iron levels are low. But if your iron levels are okay, you don't have to supplement. So it's checking the blood is important,
Yeah, definitely.
In other words, if we plan the diet well and we supplement accordingly and then it's perfectly safe for all ages. That's correct.
Yeah.
Good answer, ChatGPT.
So is it imperative to consume leafy greens or salads prior to or when eating a meal? Let me just type this in real quick.
Prior to the meal, you're saying?
Yeah, that was Rob's question. If you want to explain further.
Like just kind of, when you're eating a regular meal, do you have to have the leafy greens or your green vegetables at that same time? Or if you're consistently eating like on a nutritarian diet, does it stay in your cells, or how to explain that, the benefits?
I don't think the question is good enough, but okay. Because we know that you get maximum absorption of the anti-cancer nutrients in green vegetables when you eat them with some fat in the meal. So it's eating them with some nuts or seeds, which is the healthier source of fat rather than oils, that enhances the potential for longevity and anti-cancer potential of the phytonutrients in the green vegetables.
Yeah,
So-
this is what
Chia
ChatGPT said based on his question. Leafy greens, why you want to eat them before before your meal, it blunts blood sugar spikes. I don't know if that's true. Leafy greens and salads are high in fiber and water, which can slow digestion and buffer glucose absorption. It can promote satiety, supports weight loss, and boosts nutrient absorption.
Yeah, so the question, if you ask ChatGPT, let's ask ChatGPT,
Yeah.
what do we do to assure optimal absorption of the phytonutrients in green leafy vegetables?
I'm sorry, can you say that again? What do you do to?
How do we assure we receive optimal absorption of the phytonutrients available in green leafy vegetables, or green leafy and green cruciferous vegetables? So we're asking, how do we, because it's not the amount you eat, it's the amount in your bloodstream and your urine that determines your low risk of cancer. And I'm saying, if you don't mix it with some fat in the meal, and you don't chew it well enough, and you overcook it, those are three things. When you overcooked it, you didn't chew it well enough, or you didn't eat it with fat in the
There
meal.
you go. It says it there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, chew thoroughly. Greens like kale, spinach, arugula, collards contain cell walls that need to be broken down. Eat them with a small amount of fat. 1 to 2 teaspoons of healthy fat is enough. Ground flaxseed, chia seeds, walnuts, avocado.
See that? ChatGPT
Zucchini.
is my buddy. ChatGPT is like my brother.
Knocking it out of the park today.
Use light cooking to improve absorption. Pair with vitamin C rich foods. Avoid tea or coffee with greens, which I didn't know. Not that I typically do that, but I didn't know that. And blend or juice with caution. Blending, as in smoothies, breaks down the plant cell wall, but it could improve nutrient access. And eat a variety of greens.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
I guess if you ask ChatGPT the right questions, it gives the right answers, right?
True.
That helps.
Actually, I was trying to trip it up. I thought maybe it would have an answer that you didn't agree with, especially for type 2 diabetes, because so many doctors don't like it.
It's funny because overall I've agreed with everything it said so far, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
It's knocking
expecting
it out
this.
of the park.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's possible, Richard? Do you think it's possible that your computer your chat GPT is different than somebody else's chat GPT?
No,
would be?
No, this
No?
is
Okay,
going
yeah.
to some central location. I mean,
Okay, good,
it's not
good.
something that I would have to input it myself ahead of time, or
Okay,
somebody I
good,
know.
good. Okay, good, good.
I don't know
Richard,
where-
I think that you got a biased ChatGPT version.
Yeah,
That's what I was worried about. I was like, what if it
knows?
knows, what if the computer just knows you so well and it's like, hey, I know you're going to do this, but not that. So I was just curious, Yeah.
But it's good. It's given correct answers
It's
because,
given correct
people are getting this information and they're going to continue to. So, yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the reason I wanted to do a show like this is because I know there's a lot of fear out there for AI, and I also wanted to prove that there's a lot of benefit too. Especially if we work with it, and it could help us. Of course, there's ways it could hurt us, and that's one of my last questions for Dr. Fuhrman is: do you worry about how it could hurt us? And especially in healthcare in the long run, or do you think there's going to be laws around it? So I know there's something in Washington now. I think I heard that they want to regulate it, but that might not happen right now.
Richard, I'll tell you my real concern.
Yeah.
Because I have children, I have 3 daughters and a son, so I have 4 kids who are adults, and I'm having grandchildren too. And my concern is the destruction of the world, the environment, the toxins, the chemicals, the pollutants to make the world unlivable, or not even unlivable, just cause too much disease due to climate change and pollution and destruction of our, and because we're destroying the environment and making it toxic at a rapid, at an increasing rate of damage. And I have a good life, but I'm more concerned about the life of my children, my grandchildren right now. And when our political climate moving in a direction to people not caring about keeping the world safe for future generations. They only care about what they want right now. They're narcissistically, want instant gratification for what they want at the moment, and they're not thinking of future generations or other people other than themselves. And I'm concerned about not just my kids and my future, but the future of young people and future of more humans that are yet to be born in the earth. And I want to keep the earth good for those people. So so I don't think AI is good, but maybe AI will help come up with solutions to keep the earth cleaner, to prevent not just global warming, but global pollutants and global damage and destruction of the natural habitat. So food isn't full of plastic and cadmium and lead and mercury and you know what I mean? So it's just like we got to clean up our act. Maybe AI will help with that, or come up with solutions that can finally convince the populace not to ignore these things,
I know, and I don't know how people can deny what's going on, because the climate is changing, obviously.
And you can't deny that dumping garbage in the oceans and putting we can't deny that pollution and poisons and chemicals cause human damage. And the more chemicals and pollutants and microplastics and junk, and the more we damage our earth and damage our climate and pollute the world, the more we're going to affect the health negatively of future generations, let alone ourselves.
Yeah, so true.
So we have to have compassion for the people who are going to be the future occupants of the vessel of the earth.
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. Yeah, that's a big concern for all of us.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted to end with a lighthearted question, because I love some of your jokes, Dr. Fuhrman. And if you don't mind, if you could tell another joke, because I always think of the joke about Gilligan's Island, actually, for some reason.
Well, I have this new diet I'm working on. It's very effective. It's called the raw garlic diet. You don't really get thinner, but you just look thinner from further away.
Love it.
God.
I got one more.
Yeah, please.
Where do New Yorkers who have high cholesterol go on vacation?
Where?
Staten Island.
I should have thought of that. Oh, that's awesome.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Definitely going on.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, Dr. Fuhrman. Thanks for joining us, because
this was interesting. This was fun and interesting. At least we learned something, right? We learned some good things.
Learned a lot.
Definitely. Oh, and before we go, I did want to ask about your retreat, because I'm so impressed with the place. I would love to go there myself, even though I already have your diet down to a T. But I'd love for our audience to hear more about it.
Well, as you could imagine, Richard, some people they like what they're learning, but they just need something. They need to live it to really be able to do it more comfortably. And a lot of people can learn how to do it from a book and videos and maybe a coach and have help doing it. But if they want to really immerse themselves, and so many people with food addictions, they need to have the abstinence enforced, and they have to show them how to make the recipes and show them that their taste buds can change. And it really makes a difference for thousands of people we've had come through here. It's amazing the effect that we've had on their be able to be compliant when they leave, giving them the tools and the knowledge. And we work on their emotional well-being and their wisdom, as well as their knowledge of nutrition and their recipes and how to incorporate it in your life and problem solving. So we really work with giving people that they can live this and stay here long enough so they can be comfortable with and enjoy being more adherent to healthy living and healthy eating. So it really works great when people come and stay here for a couple of months, as opposed to, we're dealing with people who are most Americans are food addicts.
Yes.
And their brain is very resistant to change, because the primitive brain doesn't want to give up their addictive thrill, the brain's addictive thrill, So you're always dealing with two selves. One part, the cerebral brain, which wants to get healthier and thinner and maybe and the primitive brain that just wants to keep addicted and keeps rewarding itself with highly stimulating brain substances. So the body's in a war with itself. And until you set them up so there's no war anymore, and they can give them a distance and time away from their addictive triggers, otherwise they keep lighting the fire under their desire by their constant cheating. So yes, our retreat has been something that's very mission driven, and my wife and I get a tremendous amount of personal satisfaction from seeing the impact we've had on people's lives and developing those relationships. And I do have a wonderful staff here. I have a great, I have great chefs, and I have a great, I have other ancillary personnel, physical training, yoga, meditation, water aerobics, and so I have others, and we do soft wave therapy here, which means that soft wave TRT, a person has frozen shoulder or arthritic back or bad hip or a knee, we can give them these soft shocks from a water bubble. That it's amazing how people's shoulders get better, their wrist is bad, their arthritic pains are gone, and as they're getting nutritionally thinner and healthier, I'm also fixing up their joints at the same time to make them feel better.
That's
Nice,
awesome.
nice.
Yeah,
And people, if they're working, they could work there too, right? You have Wi-Fi. And,
yeah, because a lot of people can work on computers nowadays.
yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I would just love it just as a vacation someday.
Yeah, people come just to hang out and be in the pool, and we have volleyball court, and I have a pickleball court, and so and we have hundreds of miles of hiking trails right out the front door. It's just
sounds like heaven.
with the streams and a lake. It's just gorgeous here.
They come to see your trees, your fruit trees.
I have 144 fruit trees.
Wow.
And I'm eating stuff from picking and giving away, stuff from my trees. I have 24 fig trees. Can you imagine all the figs?
wow.
And the apricots are just starting to come in season right now. So I'm picking Pakistani mulberries and apricots, starting to pick them. And then next month I'll be able to start picking figs, the first round of figs. I'll get figs right through October,
Wow.
That's
And
amazing.
of course, nectarines, persimmons, citrus fruits. I have all kinds of, and I'm growing lots of bok choy and lettuce and other things too.
That's
Now,
amazing.
did you ever do a garden in New Jersey? Obviously, you couldn't do as much, but did you do?
I did have to do a lot of gardening in New Jersey. In New Jersey, I used to have a greenhouse, and I did have fig trees in my greenhouse, which I wheeled out on a dolly into the summertime. And I kept my Mayway kumquat plants in Jersey outdoors from April to October, and then I kept them indoors in the greenhouse during the winter months on in big pots on dollies.
Right.
That's awesome.
So if somebody wanted to sign up, obviously they just go to your website, drfuhrman.com.
Yeah, they go to the website they have a tab that says retreat, and they call the 800 number and speak to one of our staff about coming in.
Nice.
All righty, well,
This has been fun.
I don't see you guys. Have a great summer. Really enjoy your.
Thank you.
weather.
Thank you so much for being a guest
Thank
on
you.
our podcast. We really, really appreciate you. We really do. I love your
Oh,
book,
my
Eat to
pleasure.
Live. It changed my life back in 2008, and it's just a really amazing book. Yeah.
We all love what you do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You got three admirers right here.
Big fans. Yeah. Big fans.
Thank you. And my latest book is Eat for Life, which is an update. It was kind of an updated version of that with more recent research and more, But anyway,
Okay,
well,
get that,
great.
put that out here.
good
too.
luck.
Thank
Good luck to
you.
all of you.
Hey, subscribe to our YouTube. Subscribe to our
Yes.
YouTube right up here.
Your
Click
channel.
it. Click the YouTube. Click it. Subscribe.
Please.
We want
Hit that
you
and
to
help us out.
subscribe. Thank you.